Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend and first mate.
Yeah, it's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. So glad you could join us tonight. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters in a galaxy far, far away, there is one man who seeks to protect the child of his student. He is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is his story. Part 1. When agents of the Empire pose a new threat, Obi-Wan Kenobi emerges after years of hiding. Our director this week is Deborah Chow. Writers are Joby Harold, gets our teleplay by also by Stuart Bertie and Hossein I want to say Amani. No one needs to see the Maverick ad. Hossein Amini. My apologies. Story by Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amani. Based on Star Wars by George Lucas. Okay. Mozz, this is a show that seeks to tell us what Obi-Wan was doing on Tatooine all those years ago, and why he did very little else. So, initial thoughts, Mozz. Did you enjoy it?
I mean, I haven't found something to latch onto that I really care about yet. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and it's passable.
It's passable. Okay.
So that's what I feel.
There's
nothing terribly objectionable about it, but I enjoyed it. I wasn't really compelled to see what happens in the next episode, and I'm not compelled to see what happens in episode 3 just yet. The stories are interesting enough, but I've yet to find something that makes me care.
Fair enough. You can't make anyone care, and that is, I think, probably one of the most complex aspects of the entire story. I enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed Owen Lars.
Who's that?
The actor who plays Owen Lars. Let me see if I get his name here. Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton. Yes.
I know. Which one is Lars again?
Owen Lars is the guy. He is Anakin's brother or half brother. He's the one who raised Luke.
Right.
So he is the one who's like, oh, you need to train him. You mean like you trained his father?
Yeah, he's the one who wants.
Which is also, I mean, I wish you would have said like you trained my brother, but I guess Owen Lars was never close to Anakin. Anakin left, and this is where we're at.
So who did he mean then?
What?
He meant Anakin, right? When he said,
yeah, he meant Anakin. He meant like you trained his father. So Luke's father is Anakin,
right?
That's so also Lars'
brother. Oh, that was
Lars' half brother. Owen Lars' half brother is Anakin Skywalker. because he was the child of Smee Skywalker, and then of course she married
I think that's
someone else.
very telling about the perspective from which Owen is talking. He is thinking from the perspective of the child. So he's phrasing it that way just because that's the world his argument exists in. So it has to be expressed in that way. So it shows that he really genuinely cares about the kid and wants the best for him.
And he's not wrong. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Obi-Wan...
to a level, if Obi-Wan is so like, the Jedi are gone, then he shouldn't care about training him either. He should be like, don't train him. Don't let him know what he is, you know?
I mean, and there's an argument to be made for that, you know? I mean, that's the thing. Because we also get a young Leia on this, and we get a lot more young Leia than we do young Luke. And I do love the actress they got to be young Leia, because she is just a phenom. As an actress, she is just really on point for a kid that young, to be in the story that way. And what I also like about her is that even though she is intelligent and she is precocious, she is still written like a little kid. So she's super intelligent, but she's also like, but you know what? I really don't care what you want. I'm gonna do what I want. And
it's how
I like the way that plays out. Broad
intelligence would express itself, filled with the wonderment and the hormones of a young child.
Yeah, and it's really, I really find that to be really enjoyable.
Yeah.
The
actress is really good.
Oh, the actress is fantastic. Really, so that is one of the biggest things going for it right now in my mind. Is this the Leia actress is really good.
Although I wish they would have, the people running the show would have made that scene a little bit more involved about how two of these, mercenaries for hire or whatever can't catch a tiny little, a 6-year-old kid just like, oh, there's a tree. I will go underneath it. And like, you got me. I'm going to have to go all the way around the mountain now. I can't simply jump over this branch. I'm not a human adult or nothing. Like the scene where she's running away from them would just...
I mean, I agree with you. Although I do think that, that's sort of the thing. It's like when you're... First off, that's, to me, that the pirates... And I forget what they call themselves. All I know is that the Ravagers would not approve. Right. These pirates, they are kidnapping a kid, and I'm sure they went into it with the idea that we're just going to kidnap this kid. That this kid wanders away all the time. We will have no trouble just snatching her up. And then suddenly they're getting this difficulty. And to be fair, when she goes underneath the tree, she's also going downhill. And if you jump over something that's on a hill, that's actually a lot more difficult than it sounds. These people aren't necessarily acrobats, and they're not force users. Which, as the child of Anakin, maybe Leia is just innately tuned in to that nature,
I hope so, because that scene was like, I was like, come on, guys, you can do better than that.
Yeah, they probably could have, but they didn't. They're hired thugs. You're expecting them to...
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the thugs. I'm talking about the showrunners. I'm talking about the writers and the...
Oh, the writers.
Yeah.
Well, they wrote the hired thugs, and the hired thugs, they're not thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
They were told they were going to snatch up a little girl, and then the little girl ran. And they're like, It comes up in the next episode too. Her legs are so tiny. It's adorable. I love the joke of it all. Oh, come here, you little. She's like on her tiny little legs. It's like going. It's adorable, but it does pull me out of the reality of the show. I was like, come on, what are you guys doing? Yeah, she cannot run as fast as Obi-Wan can.
So put something else there to make it a little bit more believable that they couldn't catch her. Make something else happen. Be a little bit more creative. That was a little.
For what it's worth, I think that is why it is in the Force, because it's a landscape that she's more familiar with, so she knows where the underbrush is. She knows where to go. So that, to me, that's what that is. I was a little annoyed when we get the whole party scene on Andor, is it Andor or is it anyway? Where you get her cousin and her older cousin, who's just a total jerk. He rises in the Empire. He does well until the Empire falls. Right. But like people are like complaining about like, there's all these problems with like slavery and the Empire. It's like, dude, there was slavery in the Republic.
Wait, what do you think they're fighting
for? You're mad about it? Yeah.
Yeah, like what?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, there was slavery in the Republic, and as far as we know, most of the slavery ended, at least on Tatooine, because as I've said, we don't see slaves on Tatooine after Vader comes to power. So I do think he freed all the slaves on Tatooine. I just think that was the only place he cared about whether or not there were slaves. And the Emperor, as we see, kept them very much in the dark. Because that's one thing that I think is really central to this, is how much the Emperor keeps hidden from everyone. Like, no one else is allowed to know what the Emperor knows. Because if someone else knew it, then Vader might find out, and then maybe this little house of cards he built could all come crashing down.
Yeah.
We see another Jedi, and we get the very interesting bit about the Jedi, about how the Jedi code makes them, they can't handle seeing evil. They can't handle seeing
that can't be averted. Right, cruelty.
Yeah. They have to fight it whenever they see it. And of course, what this more deeply means is just that, yeah, they will always fight the cruelty of the world, but at the same time that exposes them. And this makes for a very interesting dichotomy between the Jedi who has come to Tatooine and Obi-Wan. Because we see Obi-Wan is simply not doing it. He is hiding. He is ignoring the Force. He is ignoring his duty as a Jedi. Like, all the other Jedi have to, they feel this, they see themselves as these heroes. They have to fight for justice. Obi-Wan is too traumatized by the events of Revenge of the Sith, and now he's just like, he can't deal with it. I mean, and I think that's the most interesting aspect of the Obi-Wan story, is the level of PTSD that he is dealing with. The trauma from watching all of his friends be murdered, watching a bunch of children be murdered by his friend, and just realizing that he can't fix it. And you know what? He realizes that that while the Jedi saw themselves as good and noble, were they really? Were the Jedi really good and noble? They certainly picked a lot of fights with people who were bullies, but after they moved on, did that solve the problem, or were the bullies still there? And then they just made matters worse. And that, I think, is maybe even one of the points here, is like, a Jedi can ride into town and he can, thwart a local jerk. But then when the Jedi rides out of town, that jerk, if the Jedi left him alive, is still there. Or some other jerk will rise in his place. The underlying problems that the Jedi are facing aren't being solved simply in a fight to a fight.
Right.
So
it's not just,
but like I said, by contrast,
himself.
You do see Obi-Wan.
It's not just that he thinks I'm not good enough. It's not just that he's afraid that he's not good enough to do anything right, or that if he does something, he'll cause more harm than good. He's disillusioned by the whole proposition to begin with. I think that's way more interesting and much deeper than I was thinking he was thinking. I was wondering whether he was disillusioned by the cause itself or just in his own abilities. But yeah, it must be that he's completely not in belief of what people can do. That the evil is so large that no matter what we do, and he feels silly for having thought that he could do something about it.
Yeah, I think that is definitely an aspect of it. You know, I think that one of the biggest problems for Obi-Wan in this is that he doesn't want to face the reality. You know, he's been in hiding for these 10 years, you know, watching Luke, you know, from afar, you know, meeting up with Owen Lars, who is clearly not interested in dealing with them, you know. And he's trying to make this argument to Owen, and Owen is like, no, you know, let the kid have his life.
Yeah, and how dare you make that argument to me right now, where I almost got killed. The kid's only father figure that he has right now almost got killed because of you. I told you to stay away. You came where we are, and now because of you, I'm getting threatened by the Grand Inquisitor, and I could die.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. So just go. If you really want to go. Why are you still here? You know, messing things up.
Yeah, and
don't believe in it. Just go.
Yeah, but that is, of course, the real core of the problem for them, because that is, Owen Lars is trying to live his life, as is everyone. And actually, one of my favorite scenes in this is when the Inquisitor's on the planet. She's like, we demand this and that and the other. And this woman yells at her and says, this is the Outer Rim. You have no power here. You have no authority here. And then, she cuts off the woman's hand, which is rough. There's no doubt about it that's rough. But at a certain point, you're like, dang, man.
Checkmate. Well played. Well,
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, she's not wrong,
That's what I'm saying. I don't have the authority? Well, just cut off your hand. Show me who the authority is. I'm claiming it unless someone can come here and tell me I shouldn't have done that. Anybody? No? Okay, well, then that means I do get to say what goes on here. So, continue our conversation. What's going on, and where is this Jedi?
Yeah. But then she goes and threatens Lars. And I like that Lars, he is clear that he has no love for the Jedi.
Right.
He's like, no, Jedi are scum. I really have no interest in them. But he's also not going to sell people out. Because it's like, to him, the Sith are no better than the Jedi. It's like the Jedi are scum, but what are the Sith? They are as bad as anyone. And quite frankly, we'd just as soon be rid of a lot of you guys here on the Outer Rim, And then, as you say, she makes this very big threat against Owen and his family. And, it's like, he doesn't have time for this. But at the same time, he doesn't betray Obi-Wan for it.
Because, he can't allow himself to see himself as someone that would betray someone. Mm-hmm. Like, he's an honorable man. So he has to stick.
Yeah. But along those same lines, he actually hates Obi-Wan.
Right, but it has nothing to do with that. You would degrade your own view of who you are if you were to do that. It has nothing to do with who Obi-Wan was. But if he were to betray his own morals, then how would he think of himself?
Yeah, how could he raise Luke to be a good person?
Right.
If he is already betraying Obi-Wan.
Right.
Yeah. It is really fascinating how they've played this out. Like I said, my biggest complaint is that we don't get anything of Luke yet. And I do hope we get some Luke in this, because we get a lot of Leia, which is great. And we get a lot of Owen. We don't get a lot of Owen. We actually get a little bit of Owen, but honestly, Owen is great when we get him. Owen, like every line that Owen says is just a gem, and that's fantastic. But we don't get much of Luke, which is a little sad. We also don't get much of Beru either. Maybe they'll get a little better as it goes on.
Speaking of that, if you think about the scenes where the two of them are on screen together, all the attention is just drawn to Owen.
Yeah.
Seems like he's putting forth I don't know. I don't want to say yet, but again, I was really excited because Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors, but I haven't seen anything from him yet that made me feel something. I never got a sense of his loss. I never got a sense of his dejectedness. I mean, it's there performed, but I don't think he's feeling it, so I'm not feeling it.
No, I understand completely.
And it's quite a contrast when you see like somebody putting forth a really strong emotional performance, and you can feel that it's palpable, and I'm not getting that. It's a interesting contrast that I'm not getting it with Ewan McGregor yet.
We start.
And it's surprising because like both of these characters have played these characters before, right? So they have a little bit of pedigree and history coming into this version of the performance. Isn't that right? Oh, he's played Owen before, right?
Yeah. I mean, they've certainly worked together as actors, and they've definitely worked together as characters.
No, I don't mean work together, but they have played these characters themselves before.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, and
so it's not like Ewan McGregor is coming into this blind without any personal attachment to the history of this character. He should be able to pull from more, but I'm not getting how tired they want me to think he is.
Well, yeah, but I think that's part of the tiredness that he's playing. So the idea, like, to me, it makes sense because he is completely burnt out. He is literally just going through the motions every minute. It's like all he can do to get out of bed every morning and not put his lightsaber through his gut, because he is burnt out. He has lived his life, and he feels a fool for what he's done. The only thing that arguably keeps him going is the fact that, I still have an obligation to the Skywalker child. I still have an obligation to Luke. Interesting that he doesn't have the obligation to Leia, but maybe that's what we're going to explain in this, is that Leia was okay.
So what was his obligation to Luke? To keep him safe or to make him a good Jedi?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I don't think even Obi-Wan knows.
Who did he make?
Because I think on some level it's, as Obi-Wan, he is saying, I need to make sure this kid is safe, and I believe that at some point I should train him, but it's not even like he feels he should train him. He feels he should train feels he should train Luke more as an obligation to the Jedi than as anything that serves a purpose for the Jedi. Which I think is why he doesn't train Luke. He stays away, because at the end of the day, maybe it's better if these children just grow up. Maybe we don't need to have, and the idea being then that, the Emperor doesn't live forever. No one lives forever. In fact, everything we see from the Emperor is just a desperate attempt to try and live just a little bit longer. And that there's a law of diminishing returns on that as we look into the future. So there is a quality that says, let the Emperor do what the Emperor is going to do. In time, it's all going to settle itself out. And maybe we don't need Jedi, And for what it's worth, I mean, if there's anything to be said about Rey Skywalker, Rey at the end of the rise of the Last Jedi, or the Rise of Skywalker, it's that, what? Maybe we don't need a Jedi or a Sith. Maybe we just need people to understand that the Force exists, and we should try to live in balance with it. And sure, yeah, maybe you can do some sweet magic with it, but the goal is to have the enlightenment of knowing the Force. And if you know the Force, the magic that it does is meaningless. There's this idea that, that the wisdom that it requires, that basically you can create fireballs with magic, but the amount of wisdom that you have to gain to create fireballs puts you in a place where creating fireballs is kind of silly.
And boring.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you get to be a saint, where it's like, oh, wow, I understand the secrets of the universe and I can call down miracles as I need. It's great, but at the same time, it's like, oh, wow, so there's really no reason for me to be calling down miracles every 5 seconds because life is better when it plays out, and I don't need to heal every sick person because sick people are part of life. And, it's an important part of the process of life continuing. No one wants to be sick themselves, and certainly no one wants to have a loved one sick. But at the same time, we all have to, when you get into that perspective, sort of like the Sorcerer Supreme, like that one in the calculus of the universe, that one person is not the thing we have to fight for. It is it is the whole of the cosmos. Yeah, but then again,
I think just people are uncomfortable admitting that the world can be ugly. And they would love to convince themselves that the world shouldn't be ugly. They don't want it to be ugly. So if we think really hard enough, maybe we can make a world that isn't ugly. But the foolhardiness in that is not recognizing how ugly the world can be in an effort to prepare for it and to mitigate some of the effects of the ugliness inherent in us as people. And the idea should be everybody should strive for balance in themselves, right? But collectively, once there's so many of us, that power tends to collect, and then it tends to turn into this whirlwind that collects more and more. So I think maybe the only thing we have to stop is that collection of energies, right? Don't let any power get too big. This idea of like a global infrastructure or interstellar infrastructure, maybe that's the bad thing. Maybe localities of people are a good thing, and you can like go over here and explore, but it should be a more difficult thing to do. So that sort of power can never coalesce in such big pools.
Yeah. And I think that is the real crux of it, is like, as they fight, they often are fighting themselves, and the end goal is problematic in and of itself.
Whether it's the Empire or the Republic. If anybody tries to be in charge of the whole thing, it's going to be problematic.
No, exactly. You just need, we need to figure out a way to work with our neighbors and get through the day and maybe farm a little moisture.
Well,
as I always say, it's all about moisture farming. That's the real point of the whole series. You should have been a moisture farmer. All right, Mozz, any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
I'm eager to see the show take off a bit. They've got some little interesting nuggets and pieces that if they can make fit together, might have a nice harmony. But so far, there's a bunch of different melodies going on here. They're interesting individually, but they haven't come together to form a harmony yet. And I'm waiting for that. Hopefully that comes soon.
Fair enough. And yes, hopefully it does come soon. It should come soon because tomorrow for us is Wednesday, and that is when the third episode drops, and that's where we get to find out all the secrets. So, hey, friends, if you've already watched the third episodes and want to give us your thoughts, if you've already watched the first and second episodes, you want to give us your thoughts on those or where you think all this is going, why don't you write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all one word spelled out with letters at gmail.com. And then, or if that's too much work, just call us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES, where you can tell us via the telephone in your own words what you think of Obi-Wan and where it's going next. And of course, go down to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics, and there you will find all of our merch, like delightful aluminum mugs, as well as t-shirts and the like, and also our Patreon, where you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month, get full video at $5 a month, I want to say. Come and watch us as we debate, and you get to vote too in our worst superhero movies of all time. Puma Man's coming up, people. come and support Puma Man. At Linktree, that's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. And Mozz, if people want to find you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in the old-fashioned email where their mothers and fathers once did. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitters. I live tweet things when I feel like it. Probably Stargirl for the midsummer replacements at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you scurvy landlubbers. You have come to the end of another voyage on the full stream ahead. Come back next week, because we'll once again be sailing full stream ahead. Arrgh.